Hey, I'm Christian Stanley, and I'm here to talk about why universal healthcare is not always exactly a 100% good thing. One of the biggest reasons why universal healthcare or just healthcare in general is a very difficult topic is because it is always very expensive. Universal healthcare is essentially giving healthcare to citizens for free, but it's not free. You're still a lot more taxes, and that means that if you're someone who doesn't need healthcare as much, you're going to be paying taxes for people who do need it. So you're going to be paying more taxes than you would be, and so more money than you probably would be anyways for people who need it more than you. And well, that could obviously put you in financial trouble that you might have not been in before. Another reason why universal healthcare isn't always the best is even with like the bonus taxes and stuff, the government has to make up some of it on its own. Um, Well, of course, the government gets all this money from taxes, but they need more taxes for it. And um, Reed Nunes in their book that I read, they said that it can sometimes universal healthcare in certain countries can be up to 40% of government spending, which is like insane. That is like 40% of like all the money that they spend can just be universal healthcare. Of course, that's not every nation that uses it, but especially because this argument would be for universal healthcare in America. Just imagine, like, we're already like a lot of money in debt, and if 40% of our spending would then go to healthcare, then that would be rough. There are a lot of other good reasons to why universal healthcare isn't the best idea. Um, One of them being that the like I kind of feel bad if you call healthcare in America a business, but that's what it is. Um, there's a lot of different like companies and forces here trying to make money, and now a lot of bad stuff comes with that, but some good stuff comes out of it too. One is that they're competing with each other, and that competing can also have them make things that are better, uh, treatments, medicines, stuff that are better to to have a one up on other people. And it's actually one really interesting thing about America is that a lot of healthcare advances are made here because companies here are trying a lot harder to compete with each other um, than they would be in a society that has universal healthcare. Because universal like government healthcare isn't driven as much by that. It's not driven as much by innovation and individuality. It's all a cohesive whole driven by the government, and that also means that it's sometimes a bit slower actually to get your healthcare treatment. It is expensive right now in America, but depending on where you are, it would be considerably faster than if we had government universal healthcare because that means that, well, remember, especially in like areas like say Los Angeles, where like hospitals can be like incredibly crowded all the time. Um, People are already not going to there because they can't afford it. So if everyone could all of a sudden afford it, those hospitals are going to get even more busy, and yeah, it would just be a disaster. More hospitals have to be open, emergency centers have to be open, which would of course cost more money, which of course cost more taxes, and it just spirals and loops way out of control. Um, Another issue that was brought up in the Midlife blog that I read is that um, access or access to for apologize for the pause, but access to healthcare doesn't or like affordable healthcare doesn't have to be universally provided by the government. Healthcare is really expensive, especially in America right now, which is a very common talking point and a very common supporting point of why we should have universal healthcare. But you can still have things like affordable healthcare as long as government just instead regulate the prices of the healthcare instead of taking over it for themselves. Which of course would be more expensive for the government to take it over for themselves. Like I said, once again, it could be up to 40% of government spending, and considering how big the United States is, it could be even more than that potentially. Is absolutely insane and not really even sustainable for a country as big as the United States, which we need to keep in mind. But if we instead just have like the companies that run healthcare like enforce to have lower prices and well more affordable prices and have to compete at that instead of what are right now very high prices and unaffordable. And like I said in my argument for universal healthcare, things like a snowball effect are a really big problem as people are stuck with terminal issues or issues that can evolve into terminal issues. Um, if there was just affordable healthcare, then all that stuff could still go away, and our government wouldn't have to be spending ridiculous amounts of money, and we wouldn't have to be paying advance taxes for it. Um, but yeah, that's why universal healthcare isn't always a great thing.
Hello, my name is Cody Herbert, and today I will be rebutting to my former stance on universal healthcare. Previously, I mentioned that universal healthcare was a good thing and gave a lot of examples from Europe. After further research, I have found that it may not be as clear-cut as that. I'll start off by saying in Europe, a lot of the countries that have it are far smaller geographically than the United States, which does make it a little bit easier to give them universal health care. According to an article titled Universal Healthcare in the USA, A Healthy Debate, by the National Library of Medicine, which is a website that I found when looking into this topic, 90% of the countries don't have a lot of geographical space that have universal health care. So it leads the question, why not? Why don't any big countries have it? And that's because a lot of countries that are bigger have tried it, and it hasn't quite worked the way they hoped. The same website, National Library of Medicine, also mentioned that in an article titled Measurement of Surgical Wait Times in Universal Healthcare Systems, that the wait time actually increased a significant amount when targeting more specific surgeries, such as cancer patients. Ontario in Canada decided they wanted to look into this universal healthcare thing, and it turns out it didn't work quite as good as they thought it would. In Ontario, they decided from 2004 to 2007 to give this universal healthcare thing a trial run. They operated on 960 people with cancer during that time and 1,654 people with benign conditions. During this 4-year trial period, the wait times for cancer patients increased from 29.9 days of waiting all the way until 56 days throughout those 4 years. And that's just 4 years. That's not a whole lot of time. If it continued, it probably would have increased a lot more. And with the benign patients, the surgery wait time went from 33.7 days at the beginning all the way to 74 days by the end, which brings the question, are we willing to wait for surgery, especially when we have a condition like cancer that can spread quickly? I wouldn't be. These wait times can be very significant for a lot of people. That's just cancer, by the way. There's a lot of other surgeries that may not, or that people may not have time to wait that long for. And if the wait times continue to increase with a country that big, I don't think it would work. Another reason that it wouldn't work is because America at the moment is extremely divided in political topics such as universal health care right now. Half the people want it, half the people don't. How are we going to get everyone on board? Are we just going to say to all those people that don't want it, your opinion doesn't matter? We're going to do it, and you're going to lose money from taxes and everything like that? No, we can't do that. So another question, how are we going to get everybody on board? The truth of the matter is that a lot of the people in this country are very stubborn right now in regard to politics, and there's just no way to get the whole country on board with universal health care. So universal health care might not be the best thing for the United States of America. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jeff Kelcher, and I'm here to talk to you today about universal health care and why it will not work in the United States. let's first talk about what we offer as a country right now. We are a single payer system, meaning that it is up to the individual to either apply for government funded assistance, employer, or pay out of pocket. Majority of the people in our country, it was around 60%, no, it was 80%, sorry, had insurance through their employer, which they both paid a little. Two-payer system, which some countries do, is where the government pays some, you pay some. It works that way. And then completely government funded, which most universal healthcare systems are. I wouldn't say this way, but that's where people are wanting to go. Let's first talk metrics. The United States is not a healthy country. It would be so expensive to provide healthcare to everybody that does not take care of themselves. So let's think about this in a way. We're eating dinner. Everybody gets drinks. And you get a bowl of soup, and they get entrees, and they get, desserts. And then to split the bill at the end of the night equally would mean that you are paying a crazy amount more for something that you did not do. And that is why we have a single payer system in our country, is because some people do not need as much healthcare as others. Other reasons why we do not have a government funded healthcare system is because the regulation alone would cost a crazy amount of money. If we had a universal healthcare system, we would, according to the National Forum, or the Nursing Forum, I'm sorry, it would cost nearly 40% of our annual budget just for healthcare. That would mean different programs getting cut, schools, other civil and social or other programs would be cut out because there would be no money for these programs. Also, the regulation. There is when something is regulated to the point where it's either yes or no, and there's only one person to say that you can do this, then it becomes almost a monopoly. And by this, that means you're letting the government tell you that certain surgeries are worse and some surgeries are not. So what may mean a lot to you may not mean a lot to the government. So it would mean that you would not be able to get those surgeries without having to pay out of pocket anyways. But the fact that is most of those surgeries don't take place means you would have to go somewhere else to get it done. And with this universal health care, that means more regulation. People in our free market society, they have the right. It's a two-way street. It's free market with a little government regulation and funding. So they still have the ability to do what they want, and have the choice to. They just have to follow the government's regulations in how they do that. But they still have the ability to choose what kind of surgeries they want to get done. And this leaves more room for, I personally do not want the government telling me or having more control over my life. You know, there's been obviously some of the things that they tell us is not what we want as a country. And I'm just throwing one in particular issue out that is a huge drawback, is having government rules and regulations. Let's talk about, I know it's a touchy subject, but abortion. The government feels that abortion in some states is not an ethical thing, which some people believe in it. So to have those rules and regulations and then have all the systems in place run by one person, it sounds like just it's a monopoly, and you want to have some freedom, and you want to have the choice. So right now we have a single payer market. Majority of the people are getting taken care of. This is an altruism kind of way of thinking, like, the most needs are being met but yes, we have the highest capita per that, but that means we are getting some of the better care. It would just be, the price would be astronomical if we had universal health care. I couldn't even think of what it would be like as a country if 40% of our annual budget was cut every year. People, and not to mention, if we have universal health care, the taxes go up. So we're look at Sweden, and this is coming from the healthiest countries. Let's see here. My computer froze. Worldpop.org. And this is saying that, taxes are astronomical when there's everybody's got to put into the pot. When you look at an average salary, let's say $60,000, and you have to pay, you're paying 60% or 40% of that in taxes because of, it's just a lot of our free market society would not be able to handle that kind of change. And I don't believe it's good for America. Thank you. So, think about it. Do you want to pick up the tab at that table? I didn't think so.